Do you like horror game Let's Plays? Do you want to forget death while constantly being reminded of it in horror form? Do you know who Oblivisci Mortem is? No? Well then, lucky for you, Tara from New Village Video has your back. She sat down with the Grim Reaper himself for an interview with death to answer some of your burning questions. Here is the interview for your viewing pleasure, but be forewarned, it's sure to be a killer experience.
Okay, hello. My
Hello.
name's Tara. We've already been chatting and yes, we've just been chatting with Mortem, or how do we say your name?
Oblivisci Mortem means forget death.
Oblivisci Mortem. Is that Latin?
Yes.
Cool. Well, that's fun. I took one semester of Latin and it was the hardest class I ever took in my life. Well, nice. So why did you choose that?
Actually, I decided on it on the night that Unis Honest was ending, which Unis Honest means 1 year. It was something that was done by Markiplier and Crank Gameplays. They created a YouTube channel, and every single day they posted a video once per day. And then at the end of the year, they held a live stream event where they deleted the entire channel. So all of that content is completely gone. Nobody can see it anymore.
Wow. Well, that's really cool and crazy. I didn't even know stuff like that was going on online.
Yeah, it was this really big thing. Like, they ended up at the end of it, they had, I think they said like 13 million people tune into the live stream. And he was like, you know, at the beginning of it, everybody was like, why would you do that? That seems crazy. Like, it seems like a bad idea and a waste of time. He's like, it doesn't make sense right now, but it will make sense at the end, was what he was always telling me.
Oh, cool. So they had some kind of like big overall like evil plot.
kind of. It was just, I mean, he told them from the beginning, like, in a year, we're going to delete this channel. And at the end, it'll make sense. And it did. At the end, you were like people cried. Like, I'm pretty sure I cried. Like,
what?
I was sitting
You
there.
Cried? Why?
Because all that content was just like gone, and like it was all memories and stuff. Like, you were losing a part of like what you invested your time in. Like, you had all these little like memes and things that you got from it, and these little happy moments. There were these cool, they put in all kinds of like cool things in between some of their scenes where like it had codes in it, and people like got together and tried to solve the codes, and there was like a whole community around like trying to figure out what the codes meant, and if the codes meant that there was going to be a way to be able to maybe keep the show going and things like that. And so it was just this big hype thing, and then all of a sudden it's just gone. So
I'm
like
sure
the
they'll
night
sell it. I'm sure they'll like come out and be like, we're selling all of it on DVD or something.
No, actually, it seems like they don't even have a copy of it anymore themselves.
What?
When they deleted it, after they deleted it, like 2 or 3 months later, they were having a conversation at a coffee shop, and Markiplier has a girlfriend, Amy. She was at the coffee shop with Crank Gameplays, which is Ethan. They were sitting down having coffee together, and they had an argument about something that had happened on the show, and they didn't have any copy of it themselves to look at. So they just went to the community and were like, hey guys, do you remember this episode? Can you tell us which one of us is right? And like a whole bunch of people came out and were like, Amy's right.
That's fun. What a fun game. Well, what do you do on your YouTube channel? Mortem? Wait, am I saying that right?
Yeah, Mortem's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just feel like I want to say it fancier because it's a fancy name. You know, I'm just like, oh.
If you want to, you can. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like it. It sounds cool when you say it.
What about
I feel
Morty?
like I say it, that's lame.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know. Hey, Morty.
There you go. But yeah, so what do you do on your YouTube channel?
I make horror game like Let's Plays mostly. There are some times where I'll just be, goofing off and doing things with friends.
What are the most violent highlights you can show me?
The most violent highlights?
Violence.
You think you can hurt me? Hurt me? Hurt me? Hurt me?
Oh, no. Oh!
So horror, what is the most, or what would you say is like the top 3 favorite?
Top
games?
3 favorite games? Well, my favorite game of all time is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That's
Badass.
always going to be like one of the best ones because it had a killer soundtrack. It was just chock full of secrets, and I love that game.
Cool. How fun is that? Yeah, I love horror. It's like, especially horror video games. Okay, so that's number 1, and what's number 2?
Number 2 would probably be its spiritual successor. The guy who was for the most part in charge of like how Symphony of the Night got made, like the things about Symphony of the Night that made Symphony of the Night what it was, which is
Whoa.
Igarashi is his last name. I would probably butcher his first, I think. I think it's Koga Igarashi, actually. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've looked at his name, so I'm sorry that that's not fresh in my mind, but I think
How
it's
dare
Koga
you? I'm
Igarashi.
just kidding.
But I know the last name's Igarashi because everybody calls him Iga for short. But Iga ended up trying over and over again to get the Castlevania series to, kind of return to the Symphony of the Night roots, and the financial backers and everything just weren't going for it. They thought nobody wanted to play Metroidvania games anymore, and everybody was
Aw.
dying to play them. So they were completely wrong. And so he decided to finally leave the company and go do his own Kickstarter for Bloodstained. And he got, for in the first day, I think it was, they literally ran out of Kickstarter goals. They were sitting there and they're like, oh my God, we there's people have gone 6 times past what we set up for goals. What do we do, guys? We need more goals just to make more stuff to make them have gotten something for gotten this far. And they came up with all kinds of ideas and then added additional goals beyond that. And then the community over the course of the next few years continued to shatter those goals.
Hey, well, that's score. Okay, number 3.
You have a special place in my heart for Flat Out 2. We had a demo disc of it, and the demo disc had on it a whole bunch of levels that were all Olympics based. And it's a driving game, and what you would do is, as you're driving down a ramp and you go up the ramp, you would hit a button and you would launch your driver out of the car, and you would have to do high jump stuff to get over top of a bar, or you'd have to play a game of darts that ended up being also a game of poker. It was really weird. And then my mom actually decided, she was watching and she was like, that looks like fun, can I try? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it was one of the few times ever in my life that my mom actually sat down and played video games with us. And I lost my mom at the age of 18 to cancer.
Aw.
So that's kind of really fond memory. And I had myself kind of forgotten
sorry.
about that, sitting down and playing with her. It's still pretty fun, even though it's a game from, I don't know, 2000 something.
Hey, those old ones sometimes are so fun. That's a similar story that happened with my mom too. Is my brother had Gauntlet Legends, and I started playing it with him, and I loved it. I had an archer named Kitten, and I
Archer
wasn't
named Kitten. Alright.
very good at many games, but for some reason, I don't know why, I'm just really good at that game only. And what's that one game?
Diablo?
Yeah. You got it. Yeah, Diablo. Randomly, every other game I suck at, but those for some reason, and Rust. But that's it. I suck at all other games. But
Well-
but yeah, so on your channel, what kind of content is your most favorite thing to create?
I'd say I like for my content to be, in some way or another, a little bit inspirational or kind of educational.
That's really cool. I love that. That's cool that you have a underlying message with everything that you do. That's really neat. So okay, let me guess where you're from. I know you're on the East Coast somewhere because you're ahead, right? Can I guess?
You're welcome to guess, but I do not give away whether or not you are correct. Sorry.
Okay, could you give you just are hiding your location from stalkers or something?
It's more so that I want my message and everything not so much to be about who I am as a individual person, but more so about what my content is about. I want people to have more of a focus on why did I do, this specific thing in a video, rather than who is this guy and where does he come from, sort of thing. But if at some point somebody puts it together, like who I am from like little breadcrumbs that I leave everywhere. Like on one stream, like I, talked about a car that I previously owned, and I've talked about like what my work history is at times and stuff like that. Like if people put all those little pieces together and they puzzle it out to figure out who I am, then I'm going to be like messaging that person and be like, okay, you did it. If they did it in like they, put together all this information and figured it out, then I'm all for it. But if they did it in like illegal ways, like, they hacked my computer, or they, illegally hacked a government database or something like that they shouldn't do in general, then I'm not going to accept that as like a, you win. But if it's something where they did it all legitimately, then at that point, I hope by then that I'm large enough that I've got this as like a full-time job, and I can afford to like save up and fly that person to me and do an in-person interview with them, and actually like have them meet me and sit down with me.
Oh, that would be cool.
Do like a video on it and be like, this is what I look like, and this is the guy whose fault it is that
Whoa. So you don't want to like, so you're waiting to reveal your identity basically until someone figures it out?
I mean, if they can. I'm hoping that they can't, but if they can, then yes. But they have to do it without using any sort of information given to them by any sort of illegal means. It's all got to be done legit. If they can do it legit, more power to them. They figured it out. I'll talk to them and we'll plan some stuff.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to be figuring it out. I love mysteries.
Good luck.
I don't know. I'm pretty crafty. Okay. Well, that's cool. Well, so why did you choose the deaf little cute guy as your character, like your avatar?
Well, given that
It's really
I took
sneaky and fun.
so the reason why I took the name Oblivisci Mortem was because of Unus Annus and everything that happened. I ended up wanting to take a like opposite and like juxtaposed stance to the motto of Unus Annus, which the motto of Unus Annus was Memento Mori, which means remember death. So I took Oblivisci Mortem because it means forget death. Because I think the world is in a place where it is possible for us to like rearrange our priorities, and if we all, got our shit together, we can end up getting to a point where nobody really has to die anymore. Like we eventually could eliminate death from old age, death from different sicknesses and things could be like pretty much gotten rid of. And there's a lot of technology and stuff there that we're just not using because there's different political aspects of it that people just don't understand and don't want to do the research on. And so it's just kind of sitting by the wayside. And I feel like one of my fears about that is the like very super rich will at some point notice that as well, and we'll start making it to where average people can't get that, but they can have it, and then they'll be basically pseudo immortal, and we'll be sitting here dying all the time. And it's like, I want it to be available for everyone, and I feel like if everybody gets together and we get a mindset going of let's all make it to where we all don't have to die, we can potentially get there. I've got these plans to essentially, like, once I get like a pretty decent sized following, I'm not sure if I do it at like 3,000 or 5,000, but like when I'm in the, somewhere in the thousands, I'll probably start releasing little like videos that are like, chapter 1, here's how we start, sort of a thing. Chapter 2, here's how we get our priorities in order. Here's how everything needs to be laid out for us to do this. Like things like that I would want to do, and then like have a video series that's just dedicated to here's my way, my plan to, save the world.
Oh, wow. That's cool. What are your favorite horror films?
I do like Nightmare on Elm Street movies just because the aspect of like not being able to fall asleep when, sleep is kind of the eventual thing that's going to happen. I both feel it's very topical considering like the overarching theme of my channel, as well as it's just kind of a cool concept. Like it was a new thing when someone created it. Like you sleep, you die. It's kind of like a very very interesting horror concept because you can't avoid sleeping. So then it's like, okay, when you're asleep, how are you going to survive? And you have
Oh.
to like be prepared for what can you do to fight off, Freddy in your dreams, sort of thing, if it happens. And I'm a lucid dreamer, so it also hit home because it's like I've had dreams before where I've lost my ability to wake myself up, and it's a scary fucking thing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Have you ever had sleep paralysis?
Oh yes, sleep paralysis sucks. I've had it, I think, 2 or 3 times, so not very often.
Did you see the old hag?
Uh, everybody like mentions, like the shadow character or whatever. I still haven't had that. I did have a feeling that someone was just outside of my door, like this weird feeling that someone was outside my door, but the door was closed. So like I didn't see anything during the sleep paralysis. It's just like my brain was like, yeah, there's somebody on the other side of your door, just over there, and they are for some reason. Like you
Oh,
can
that's
sense
scary.
them, but that's all you get. And it's like, oh, okay.
Wow. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes, but I think of ghosts in a different way than most people do. I think that when we pass away, our consciousness still lingers, and I think at one point or another we can kind of evolve our consciousness to where we'll act as though a ghost acts, and that's just a process towards eventually creating our own afterlife.
Wow.
I think that when we pass away, we essentially then just have infinite time to learn how to create our own universes using just our thoughts. And once we've learned to create those universes, we just, head off into those universes, and that's our afterlife. So if if we're somebody who's carrying a lot of, guilt about something or something like that, then that's where we're going to go and create a universe that's going to be like our own personal hell until we feel like we've atoned. And then we're going to change that universe in such a way and like self-actualize the universe around us to where we're no longer in hell. Now we've moved on to something else. So I think that's kind of like the concept I have of like what the afterlife really is. If we're somebody who feels like they had a great life and everything's golden, then we're probably going to go create a life for ourselves that's just more enjoyment, more fun things to explore and find out.
That's cool. That's a neat way to think about it, See, I just don't think anyone's wrong. Like, I don't think any culture or any like civilization is wrong 100%. I think everyone has bits of truth, And like what you're saying earlier, it's like, why can't we just come together and like tackle this issue? It's like, yeah, like there's so many cool insights and inputs that people have about it. Yeah, it's fascinating to me. I think
that's one of the things that my like views on everything kind of holds true as well. Like you said that, you don't feel like anybody is wrong. And I feel like mine is a way of explaining how nobody has to be wrong. Because if you think back into history, like what the major religions were, there's generally like, a dominant like God in most of the theologies. And if you take that and you go, okay, well, what if that's the God or spirit that created this universe from whatever universe they were from that they passed away in, and then they got to the point where like they were able to invite their friends to their universe, and they started inviting their friends. So then Zeus is maybe the main guy, but then he invites all of his other relatives and friends and stuff from his past life and lets them enjoy his universe for a while, and then you have all this drama happening in his universe with the gods. And that explains, like Roman and Greek histories pretty well. But then at some point he's like, all right, I'm sick of you guys. You're screwing everything up. Just get out of here. And he kicks them all out. And then it's like, oh, now it's, single Judeo-Christian. It's just me sort of God. And then it's like, okay, well, other things can evolve from that and go beyond that as well. And then there's, Eastern religions where it's like, okay, here's me having a giant party and I've got
Wow.
3,000 people invited because I'm just like, hey, let's have a party at my planet.
That's fun. That's super cool.
So
Wow.
it makes you wonder, like, what sort of a god will you be when you pass away? I think is like kind of a cool thought. But at the same time, I don't want people to have to do that. I don't want people to have to die. I get that when you leave this, hole in your wake and everyone else around you. And I think that's the biggest reason people shouldn't have to die, is because you don't do that then to other people. You can remove that sad thing from their life. And I feel like that's a overall good if you're keeping yourself around for other people and you're removing that feeling that they'll have of grief. It's one of the nicest things I can do from somebody is making it so they don't have to mourn your death.
That's true. That's true. Then people wouldn't even know that sadness anymore, which is good. That's so neat. I've been learning a lot, and it was fun chatting about all of our death theories and ghosts.
Right.
Very nice chatting with you, Mortem. You have a lovely channel, and you are a lovely person to chat with as well. I hope you enjoyed my obnoxious laugh. I'm really sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Say goodbye to whoever watches this. This is the end of our chat from far away.